Of course, in our last episode, you had an opportunity to meet Tammy. And as we discovered Tammy's situation, we learned that she is living life as a performer, as if she's on a stage.
I've been living in a kind of bondage for about 28 years.
Like many of us, we are unaware that we are living a distorted reality of our lives. So I would love for you to understand that there is more pieces to the puzzle as we discover. Stay tuned as I introduce our next guest. Hello and welcome to another episode of That's Not Your Life with Chantel Malord. I'm so glad you are here. And of course, I have with me the amazing RUDY LAROSE, a continuation of our previous conversation. RUDY, welcome back. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you.
Absolutely. I enjoyed our conversation. There was so many takeaways.
Yes.
And my God, what a journey it is for you.
I love the journey. I'm loving the journey.
I can tell. I can truly tell that you love it. So from our conversation earlier, what was the greatest discovery for you as you were speaking, sharing your heart, pouring your soul out to the world? What showed up for you?
Honestly, the greatest discovery is realizing how many men needs that discovery for themselves.
Right.
Understanding that I don't stand alone, and what I've gone through. I don't stand alone in the quest to really, again, take the cape off and really become the man that I'm called to be. And so, being in that space, allowing myself to be vulnerable for those who haven't gotten there yet, is a great discovery for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, and I know you can imagine of all people, the suffering, the silence, the turmoil, the grief that you're expected to take in and still wake up and show up.
Absolutely.
You still have to eat. You still have to create a life for yourself.
Absolutely.
And in all that pain, you're expected to show up, and not just show up regularly, but show up as if you're a hero, as if you don't hurt, you don't cry, you don't suffer.
Right.
And so how do you speak to men all over the world that is expected to show up, but they're broken and they're not given the permission to own their brokenness?
Right.
And then once you own it, you can fix anything about your life.
Right.
And when you look at it, and if you're doing the work now, you realize a lot of the stuff that we make so big isn't that big of a deal at all.
That's right.
And the shame that we carry and what people may assume of you or what they may think of you doesn't even exist once you truly come to that place where you're comfortable with your own self. So what would you, if RUDY today, what would you say to the man in your position, in your condition, that is striving, that is committed, and in some aspect they're not making any headway, but you, my friend, have committed yourself against reason to be unreasonable with all the reasons you have made to remain in your unhappy condition to do something different with yourself? What would you say to the men all over the world?
I believe it starts with first having a conversation with God, right? For me, it was having that authentic conversation with God and saying, you see all things, you know all things. I can't fool you. I can fool myself all day long. I can fool people, but I can't fool you. And then once that conversation's had, is being directed to have the conversation with the person that can help you make sense of the answers that you're looking for. Because sometimes we do get answers, but they're scrambled. We don't understand what they mean because we haven't, it's like giving a child a dictionary to read. It's like, they're not going to know what that means. And so I would say it's taking those steps and then realizing that if you don't, That's always the thing, is people have to realize, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen.
Right.
Are you okay with that outcome?
Right.
If you don't take care of yourself emotionally, you're gonna have emotional hemorrhage.
Right.
And you're gonna show up like that.
Yep.
And not only you show up like that, but you're gonna impact every single person that you come around with that hemorrhaging.
Wow.
And you don't know what you don't know, right? So sometimes, unless you go to the doctor and they do an internal evaluation, then they'll realize, oh, wait a minute, you're bleeding internally.
Some issues.
So, so for me, it's having the conversation with God, having a conversation with someone who will unscramble some of these things that you've been dealing with, and then being okay to do the work, and be vulnerable.
And being okay with not being so perfect. And I think society have it where you have to show up being this person.
Absolutely.
That as a mom, I have to show up being a perfect mom. And I gave that the right for that.
Right.
That I'm not perfect, that my children and myself is a partner in my relationship, and the falsity and the inauthenticity that exists in that. I am creating a picture for my children that they can't stop and say this is too much for me, or they can't stop and evaluate something that is not comfortable for them. So you're expected to show up all right all the time.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
And it's okay to be hurting.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can identify with your brokenness, the fact that you can identify with, okay, I'm not okay, then now I can process why am I not okay?
That's right.
And what can I do about not being okay?
Yep.
And so that I think that's one of the, the hardest thing for people.
And
How
for
was
us
that for
guys.
you?
And
Yeah, especially
for
for
guys,
guys.
it's the ego.
Okay,
I'm just gonna lay it out there.
And you got multiple of those egos.
For us guys, it's the ego.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I don't know what they're gonna think. I don't know what to feel. Like, it's all about external, the way that things look externally.
Right.
Really, and that's what the ego does.
Right.
How does it look externally looking at me?
Right.
Whereas when you drop the ego, how's it look internally looking out?
Right. So with the ego, you're put in a back burner.
Yes.
Because the ego's job is to keep you stuck.
Yes.
Repressed.
Yes.
Hurting.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So when you put the ego away, your function in you is looking at it and say, well, from the inside in, it starts from the inside out.
Yep.
Not from the outside in, because we've been programmed to look the part.
That's right.
But internally, we're, like you said, we're dying.
Right.
We're hurting. And so especially for men, you have to be this for society.
Yeah. Yeah.
How was that for you, Rudy? I don't know if it's was. How is it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not even was.
Yeah.
It's right now.
Society continues to demand that.
Yeah.
I believe for me, being an entrepreneur, first of all, I remember showing up places where, you tell yourself stories. You tell stories in your mind that you're supposed to be this way. You're supposed to be this successful. You're supposed to have, this car, this wife, this,
Come on.
You're supposed to have this house.
Yes.
And all these things. And I think at the end of the day, we can sit here and blame society, but we're all part of it, right? We're all part of this rat race until you stop and say, you know what? I'm done racing with y'all.
Right.
I'm going to do my own thing.
Right.
I'm going to veer there and live in my lane.
Right.
And whatever that lane is, whether it's a dirt road, whether it's paved, whether it's a highway, I don't care.
Right.
I'm in my own lane.
That's right.
And I'm allowing myself to feel the bumps, the bruises, to feel everything because now I feel like I'm living.
Right.
And whatever that looks like, I got to be okay with it.
Right.
Yeah. I had to come to terms, Chantal, that I have to be okay with the imperfection of it all. And when I became okay with that, I became okay with me.
Right. Yeah. I have a problem paying toll for somebody else's car. That's not my car. I just don't get it.
That's not my life.
That's not my life. I've lived my whole life wanting to impress someone who have absolutely no concern about the internal disease that is eating at me.
Right.
So we live life paying a toll for somebody else's vehicle.
Yeah.
And we're not even in our own lane, living our own lives.
We're not.
So I am so excited for you and most of the clients that all of them, because when you come to this work, you got to be willing to bring your behind forward, and you have to be willing to put your butt out on the line, because outside of that, it's like we're living again that prop we talked about.
Absolutely.
So, to say someone else is responsible, how long can you blame your mom? How long can you blame your dad? Society, this person, this opportunity. You understand that you have the power to transcend your world by simply transcending your mind. We're going to come at a 1-degree shift. We're going to talk about that 1-degree shift too. We'll be right back, Rudy. Welcome back. I'm so glad you can join us here, Rudy. We're going to finish this conversation. We were talking about the 1-degree shift.
1 degree.
Well, most people don't know what the 1 degree is because it's part of our formula. Right? So tell me, what when you thought about the 1 degree, or when you first heard it, what was your thought?
I thought, there's no way. I mean, I'm thinking 10, maybe 20 degrees, but 1 degree, there's no way. And then I started thinking about back to my Navy days and how I actually used to steer the aircraft carriers. And you were taking from the captain was telling you 3 degrees left, 1 degree right. And if you were off by a little degree, you stay there on that degree long enough, you would wind up a completely different place. And so when I started thinking about that, then it made sense to me. 1 degree shift.
Yeah, most people think it takes a lifetime that, I got to give this up and I got to give that up. And I got to give up drinking. I got to give up my bad habits. I got to give this up. Why don't we just start? All of those demands aren't really necessary. Just show up for yourself. And then in showing up for yourself, you realize I'm worth it.
Yes.
I'm enough to give this up.
Yes.
Not that it's work. So the 1 degree shift for me, it's just that it's not a lifetime. It's not the rest of your life.
Right.
It's not 20 years from now. It's not 5 years from now. It's a 1 degree shift in perception.
Right.
From you thinking from a disempowering standpoint to a powerful standpoint.
Right.
From believing that you're incapable to knowing that I am enough.
Right.
And I have it all.
Right.
And to thinking that, okay, maybe I can't have this, or maybe I wasn't born with this quality. No, and to shift that to say, I can learn to become and be whoever and whatever I want.
Yeah.
So it's in that 1 degree shift of perception. Your reality will be changed and altered. And when your reality is changed and altered, then your circumstances will begin to show up differently.
Right.
Because after all, your circumstances show up for you how you perceive it.
That's right.
So the reality that you see, the circumstances you don't like, the life that you're displeased with, is a life that is created by the only creator and maker.
Yeah.
Which is yourself.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
So in that work and in your business, you see people who live life in conditions that don't fit them, and situation that doesn't benefit them, and they choose to be that way.
Right.
With that 1 degree shift, what is it that you think you found yourself having to do daily? Because it's a moment by moment, I would say second by second work, that you have to continue to do.
I believe what the work requires for me is understanding who's in charge when I'm in a different situation, right? Who's talking? Like, who is the one? Who's the one that's talking and being in charge of that particular thought process?
So, Rudy, the audience or people who's listening to us right now may be saying, what does this man mean? Who's talking?
Right.
And I know that's a term that we use internally. So talk about who's talking.
Yeah.
So please.
Yeah, who's talking? Is it the ego? Is it the person who's in command, or is it the person who's watching? The person who's in command wants to take care of everything. Take care, be in charge of everything. The watcher's like, look, I'm just going to sit here and let me just look this from a distance. What I've learned to do, over the past a few times that we've been working, is really sit back and kind of observe, my environment, observe my habits, observe my conversations, observe everything to see how I show up in these situations, and then do the 1 degree shift. Okay, if I did this time and I got this result that I didn't like, guess what? I'm going to shift the way that I showed up here so that I can get the results that I want. Because ultimately, what is it that we all want? We all want results.
Right.
And so for the results to happen, there's got to be a shifting, like you said. Otherwise, you're going to keep going the same course.
Yeah.
So I've had to really internalize my conversations, my thoughts, the things that I say. I remember at some point in my life, I used to say, money talks and it says goodbye. Like I used to say that all the time.
What a belief system,
right? It was just a joke. But then I started, wait, why would I even say that?
Wow. We pick those up and we say them.
So now I say money talks and it serves me.
Yep.
It's a whole different mindset.
Yeah.
So again, seeing the type of things that comes out of your mouth, the thoughts that you have, and holding these thoughts captive and say, you know what, enough is enough.
That's right.
I'm not going to think like that.
That's right.
I'm not going to say these things. I'm not going to allow these things to happen to me, but happen for me.
Absolutely.
And those are the changes that I've seen.
Right. So you've taken the driver's seat.
Yes.
Instead of allowing.
And it feels good.
Don't it feel good? Absolutely. Just to be able to be in charge of your own life, at least to start.
Yes.
Because again, it's a lifelong
My life
process.
is not for Uber.
Yeah, it's not.
Nope. I want to be in charge. My life is not for Uber. I'm sorry.
I love that. My life is not for Uber. Because when you're in charge, you are able to calculate.
That's
you
right.
are able to understand and know the difference between your right and your wrong.
Right.
And just being able to be the referee for yourself to say, look, I'm going to deal with you in this situation. Because Tammy and I, in one of our conversations, we were talking about the time when, I'd like to hear from you, what was your thought on that? When Tammy came for the first few days and we did some surface work.
Right.
And I matched whatever work she wanted to do because I wasn't going to push up her car.
Right.
And so, and she was ready to leave, packed her bag and left and was on the way to the airport and got so sick. But she felt it before she left, right?
Yep.
And kept going. How often do we show up like that in life, right? Knowing, oh, this is not the move for me.
Yep.
I don't need to be in this relationship, but I'm going to push it anyway. Hope that, that I get over. Only to find herself almost to the airport and had to pull over to throw up. When you got that call, what were you thinking?
When I got that call, I just thought to myself, what is going on? And more importantly, what's going on in her life that would cause such disengagement in her body? Because when you have to literally physically throw something, there's a disengagement that's taking place between, what's reality and what really you're feeling.
Right.
And so I just felt that at that moment, she was literally throwing up what she was feeling and being able to get rid of that. And not only get rid of that, but also doing the work to clear that, clear what was going on with her. So that was a shocker to me.
Right.
Like, wait a minute, you were fine a few minutes or a few hours ago. So.
At least she would want to believe she was fine.
Right.
She would want to believe. And then so here she is. What were you? I know at that time she was still trying to press her way to the airport.
Yes.
Because that's what we do.
Yes.
What was your recommendation to her?
I said, you know what? It's not time to leave yet.
Got it.
Your time is not yet. Even everything around you is telling you it's not time. And I think sometimes we tend to go into a journey that we haven't prepared for. And because of that lack of preparation, if we were to undertake that, we wouldn't have the right tools.
Right.
I think having the right tools and the right resources is important.
Right.
Because again, as much as I love the journey, but I love it because of the tools that I have to deal with everything that's coming with that journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need tools for our house.
Yes.
We need tools for our car.
Yes.
And oftentimes we don't have the tools for our lives.
Yeah.
How backwards is that, right?
Absolutely.
And so you have the tools, you know what to do, you have the resources. So it's amazing that you're using it. So this conversation, this whole journey really has been incredible. I thank you so much for putting yourself out on the line, committing to doing the work for yourself. And I honor you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember to come back and watch some more episodes. Should you want to reach out to me, please feel free to visit me at chantelmalord.com. chantelmalord.com. Thank you so much. And Rudy, words cannot express. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello, my name is Chantel Malord with the Chantel Malord Show. I'm so glad you and I are connected. Remember to follow me on all my social media platforms and visit me at chantelmalord.com as we further this conversation. Let's stay connected.